What's going on, everyone? So today we're going to talk about the real purpose of camber. Camber has become increasingly popular over the last couple years with the hellaflush and demon camber movements. I'm even guilty of it myself. My bug has some pretty extreme negative camber on it. But camber is actually a really important aspect when setting your car up for track racing or drifting or anything like that. So we're going to start with what camber is itself, and then we'll get into the different applications of it. Alright, so we're going to just start off real simple and actually talk about the definition of what camber actually is. If you look it up, there's a pretty lengthy definition for it, which I'll add in the description below. But for the video, I'm going to try and keep it real simple. So if you just go to the front of your car and you're looking at it head on, what you're looking at is the top of your tire and to see what angle it's sitting at. If you're looking at the top of the tire and the tire is angulated in towards your car, that's negative camber. Opposite of that would be the top of the tire pointed away from your car, which is positive camber. A lot of your stock cars are what I like to call square like this. There is no camber to them, which is really good for your street applications because all you're doing is going street light to street light. You're not taking turns at high rate of speed, so you don't need to have that camber setting for it. But we'll go ahead and talk about the settings for positive and negative camber and how they apply to racing. Alright, so before we actually get into our examples, there's a couple important things to note about camber before we get into them. The first is that as you change the angle on your tire, you're actually going to be changing the amount of contact that the tire has with the surface, which is also known as your contact patch. With your contact patch, it's ideal to have this square setting where the entire tire is in contact with the road. But as you go around the track, the stresses that are put on your car as the body rolls and the suspension flexes, it's going to move that tire, which is why we add the camber to the car, so that in those moments of high stress, where the suspension is under a lot of stress, the car is trying to roll, the tires are going to be in that square position so that you have maximum control over your car. So for the first example, we're going to talk about a positive camber setting, which is when the tire is pointing out away from the car. Again, I'm doing it a little bit exaggerated, but just so you get the visual, a lot of times they're very subtle changes. But with a positive camber setting, it's used in the off-road setting because those cars have a lot of suspension travel. So as they go over a big bump and the suspension starts to flex and come down, it's going to bring that tire back into the square setting, giving them the optimal amount of contact patch on the road and helping them get around the track better. Alright, so with negative camber, it's going to be the same thing. You're trying to achieve a square contact patch on the road when your car is under a lot of stress, when you're cornering and things like that. So with the negative camber, top of the tire is going to be pointing in towards your car. And just for an example, a visual, let's say we're making like a left turn, going around the track. You know, you feel it yourself even when you're driving around normal. You feel yourself kind of leaning, where your car is doing the same thing. The body is rolling, adding a lot of pressure and flexing that suspension on the right side of your car or the outside of your car. And so we'll just say that this tire is pointed in. As we apply that pressure and everything's starting to roll, it's going to bring this tire into that upright position, giving you that optimal amount of contact patch with the road. Alright, so before we end this video, a lot of people are going to be asking the questions of, what should I apply to my car, my style of driving, all that stuff. As a rule of thumb, if you have a street and track car that you use kind of for both, you really want to keep it anywhere from -1 to -1.5 degrees of negative camber. If you have a car that's more dedicated to the track, you can go as far as like -2 to -3 degrees. But really, it's all going to be dependent on your style of driving and your experience as a driver. Like I said, as you add more negative camber to the car or positive, the contact patch is going to be minimal, which means you don't have as much control accelerating and braking. So you have to make up for that with technique and upgrades on your car. So start off with minimal upgrades in your camber, and you can progress as you progress as a driver and as your car gets a little bit of more upgrades. But that's basically it for this video. Thank you guys again for your time and watching this video. Like I said, we're kind of just covering the basics at this point still. We're absolutely going to be getting into camber kits and showing you how to accomplish the camber. But we're going to do that on builds. We're going to be getting a car here soon and building it from from nothing into whatever kind of car whether we go with drift car, track car, drag car, whatever we're going to build first. But we're going to have you guys involved in on that, deciding what car we're going to choose. But first we got to get through these basics. So let me know your feedback. Please add your comments below, any questions. All of it's welcomed. Really trying to build a community where everybody can kind of go and get their questions answered. And other than that, just don't forget to subscribe for the channel. Like I said, a lot coming up. A lot of your feedback is going to be taken into consideration. So thank you guys for your time, and don't forget to hit that like button. See you next time.